Hello again. If you don't already know, my name is Brian Penny, and I'm a bank whistleblower. And you may have heard of the word whistleblower or have a general idea of what it is, but being a whistleblower, one of the, I guess, best things that I can do with the position that I've chosen in life is to educate you on what my life has been like as a whistleblower, what my reality is, what it really is like being a bank whistleblower. Um, my story starts in 2011, January of 2011. Um, well, actually, December 2014 is when I basically decided to leave the company, Bank of America and Countrywide. The long story short of what I blew the whistle on was forced place insurance. I worked in a mortgage operations and insurance tracking center. And what we did was we would track everyone's loans basically for different lenders. So we handled about 30% of the mortgage loans in the country. We also handled RV, boat, auto loans, all sorts of other loans, construction loans, things like that. And we were basically the ones that would determine whether or not you had insurance, whether or not all the information was on your account, and if you didn't have insurance, we would place forced place insurance on it, which would raise your insurance payments exponentially, thus raising your mortgage payment, thus usually leading to a foreclosure. They had the HAMP program, which is the loan modification program, which is meant to help alleviate this, but it didn't really work. Uh, Basically, if you were behind if your escrow was negative because you had forced place insurance placed, you weren't qualified for a loan modification until you got your escrow account figured out. Some people even foreclosures for taxes or because the tax payment was never made out of the escrow account because of the forced place insurance. Escrow accounts turn out to be a very large thing, which I later told regulators. I'll get to that in a moment. So basically, in January 5th, 2015, or 2000, sorry, January 5th, 2011, was my last day with Bank of America. On that day, Bank of America's corporate security decided to file a bomb threat in my name and say that I had called in a bomb threat. And they evacuated this entire processing campus in Chandler, Arizona. Um, I didn't, for the record. The police came and surrounded my house, and it wasn't until 12 hours later. If they believed that I had actually done anything, they would have come immediately, but they waited for 12 hours. But during that 12 hours, Bank of America's corporate security brought all these people into offices and told them they were the police and asked them to give up any kind of communications they had had with me. And so immediately after they had gotten out of their, gotten off the campus, these people started calling me and texting me and telling me what was going on. So I was well aware of what I was being accused of the day that it was happening. It was actually a very terrifying experience. I thought that I was going to go to jail for something that I didn't do for the rest of my life. Um, the police came and questioned me for several hours into the night, surrounded my house and made all the neighbors look. Put my roommate up against the car when he came home and searched him. They just put on this big show, but then they left. They did nothing. So afterwards, I was properly terrified. And so I had started looking for help. I was trying to find someone in the media. Applied. I filled out applications with the Better Business Bureau, the Attorney General, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. Anybody I could find to. I even wrote my state senator John McCain, and I wanted to see what it was that I could do because I knew that these people were committing fraud and they were doing everything they could to silence me, make me disappear. Nobody did anything, so I ended up getting a hold of somebody at the Wall Street Journal who was talking. Cynthia Coons is her name. She's a reporter at the Wall Street Journal in Australia, and she was helping talk through some of this stuff and was saying she was going to publish something, but a month goes by and nothing had happened, and at that point I'd finally gotten a hold of someone at Anonymous, and that's when I leaked the Bank of America emails. It was March 14th, 2011. It was Op Black Monday, and that was a precursor to the Op Empire State Rebellion that ended up turning into Occupy Wall Street. And what happened was I leaked some emails that showed that the they knew what was going on basically, and it got worldwide coverage. It got the story made it to Fox News, CNN, all sorts of other places. But because I was an unknown, they were easily able to discredit it. Well, not fully discredit it. We'll get to that in a minute. But for the time being, they got it kind of squashed down. Call me a tempest in a teapot is what I believe the exact thing I was called. After that, I again was terrified because I'd now been working with this terrorist organization that had gotten a lot of people in trouble for hacking into things like the PayPal 14, all of the the Stratfor hack, the HB Gary federal hack, all that stuff had been going on, and LulzSec was riding a high at the time. And at the time, I had gotten involved with was Jackal Anon and Your Anon News, some of those people that were involved with that, and I started getting really into activism during the whole time with the BART protests, the Arab Spring, Occupy. Through that whole period of time, I was somewhat contributing to those on a low level, while also working with, right after the leak in June or July, I believe it was, 2011, I had met with the Arizona Attorney General at the time, was Tom Horn, his office. The investigators involved with that have all since been fired or disappeared or died. The lawyer that I had at the time was also dead, actually. Well, one of them. The other one is still alive, but not doing anything. Later on, I'll get to that when I get to it. So then I also worked with the New York Department of Financial Services, Benjamin Losky, and it escapes my Joy Fagenbaum, and they were great. I thought when I was working with them, I helped them see the foreclosure and REO real estate owned insurance that was also going alongside with forced place insurance. Then I worked with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in 2012, which is towards the end of 2012, and right around that same time, that's when they were redoing the Reg Z and Reg X for Regulation Z, Regulation X, RESPA, the Real Estate, I can't remember the rest, Protection Act, Securities Protection Act. But so all that was going on, and I ended up getting contacted by the Huffington Post to have an opportunity to write for them for their on-the-bus political thing at the time for the 2012 election. And instead of writing about the election, my political thing was with the politicians I was working with. So I wrote about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, try to get people to go in there and make their voices heard to fix the mortgage industry. And then I started writing about whistleblowing because I realized that, as much good as I have been doing with the mortgage industry, I'd rather help whistleblowers. And in 2013, that next summer, I ended up working with the FHFA, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, who oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And it was after Fannie Mae was trying to put in some new mortgage servicing regulations, and I kind of stopped them in the media. And I talked to the highest lawyers and advisors for the FHFA. I wrote about it on Main Street and Huffington Post, and I really believed that something was going to happen. But 3 years later, the attorney generals all settled. They took some money from the banks as basically payoff shut-up money. The homeowners got nothing. The Department of Financial Services, levied some fines against them, and set a precedent. A lot of class action lawsuits could be filed. The FHFA, I still believe, should file one. I probably could file a quo tam lawsuit on their behalf, but I don't have the time or the money to do so anymore. But nothing ever happened. It's still going on. Everything that you saw in The Big Short is still happening, and what I did was the back end operations end of that was basically how they foreclosed on people's homes and resold them so that they can make more money. Basically, if you look at how it all connects, if I have a $200,000 house, for example, and I have a 30-year mortgage, it's going to take you 30 years, well, probably about 15, 20, actually, with all the insurance or interest, to get the $200,000 from me. When they put all these mortgage-backed securities, if everyone's making those gains, it's not that, attractive. But if I can kick you out of that house after 6 months or 2 years, 3 years, and put somebody else in it and get another $200,000 on it, and by that time the mortgage, the housing industry has changed, the market's changed, and it's worth $300,000. Now I've got $500,000 coming in for this one house, and suddenly, that's an attractive investment, mortgage-backed security investment. So it's all still going on. All this fraud is still going on. After 2014, basically kind of had to give it up. I lobbied for everybody that I possibly could, talked to all the insurance commissioners in every state, talked to every attorney general I could get a hold of, talked to every financial Wall Street regulator possible. I did it as much as I could possibly have done. The Government Accountability Project have told me multiple times that they're surprised at how much I've gotten done, and that they've never seen somebody do some of the things that I've done. Still nothing. It's accomplished absolutely nothing. No bankers have ever gone on trial or been convicted in any way of any kind of crimes related to this. What happened when I did leak everything was that an executive was fired, and he was one of the executives that I named in the leak, and so in the end of 2014, December of 2014, I found that I was found in default of a judgment, actually it was October of 2014, I was found in default of a defamation judgment where he had sued me, saying that because I leaked that information and they were all lies that he had never been convicted of, that I basically defamed him and ruined his chances of getting a job. He was able to prove that. I, on the other hand, instead of hiding from all that, I've created a web presence that's led to this. But what ended up happening was I was held in contempt of court, ended up going to jail for 30 days through New Year's and Christmas, and then I got out, was told to delete everything, refused. Instead, I allegedly had licked my hands and wiped them on the lawyer's keyboard, and then I grabbed my testicles and rubbed my hands on the lawyer's keyboard. That's what they say in open court, but they don't have a video of it. And so then I got thrown back in again, and at that time was when Ryan Grimm from the Huffington Post, I had contacted him, I had contacted Malcolm McDowell at High Times. I did get a cover story in High Times over going to jail, and the Huffington Post removed one of the blogs in which I did name the guy who Voldemort, we will call him, he who shall not be named. But yeah, I ended up going to jail for all of my efforts to help everything. When I first leaked everything, the irony is that I didn't trust media at all. I didn't trust journalists. I could have leaked a lot more. I could have probably made a bigger impact, but I would have ended up in jail, exactly where Chelsea Manning is, or where they're trying to put Edward Snowden. Instead, I chose to stick to the emails and take the longer road, the harder road. I don't regret it necessarily. There are times I wish that I could have stopped everything, but at the same time, I preserved myself, I guess. Call me a coward, whatever. When I first started writing, for the Huffington Post, that's when I started realizing that I actually could make a living providing content for the internet. My goal when I first started, my blog was to make sure that whistleblowers out there, well, my first goal, actually, let me back up here, my first goal was because I was afraid they were going to kill me. I was afraid I was going to disappear, and I wanted to validate my life. The second goal, the more honorable one, I guess, was that I was trying to help any other whistleblowers out there. Anybody who ever decided that they wanted to become a whistleblower, I wanted to, be out there as a resource that they could use, because I've learned quite a bit about it. I know all the right and wrong things you can do. And in my time, I've met a lot of other whistleblowers. I've met some really great ones. Lisa Epstein and, I can't remember her name right now, but the two women in Florida had the book written about them recently. I've hung out with them a couple of times, actually, and I'm so sorry I'm forgetting your guys' names right now. But yeah, there's been some whistleblowers in New York and some other industries even that I've been able to talk to and kind of network with and learn from. One of the people that sticks out of my mind always is in December of 2013 was Katharina Wegman, who Dr. Katharina Wegman now, because at the time she was getting her doctorate and was doing a doctoral study on moral acts of courage in the financial sector. And I was one of I gave her probably the longest interview ever. I'm for sure I talked her ear off, but gave her the honest truth about what it was like being a whistleblower and what it felt like. And she, I think 30 other whistleblowers somewhere around there, probably less than that, participated, and she was able to get her degree, and now she's trying to start a consulting company. Well, she has started a consulting company. She's trying to build it to help. It's called Black White Gold, to help whistleblowers and help encourage whistleblowing within organizations, to help them become more honest and transparent about things, and which is a good step. We're on different sides of the battle there. Lessons I've learned from whistleblowing, the very first thing is that you have to accept that you're crazy. I I have a different life perspective of everybody else. I have a different lifestyle. I have a different belief now. I believe in a world where the banks have committed fraud, and the judges, the courts have created a whole other different world. So I am now basically Chicken Little running around talking about the sky is falling, and I'm just some crazy lunatic holding up a sign on the fucking side of the road now. That's the reality of what they do with whistleblowers. All of them I've talked to, they've gone through depression, suicidal thoughts, all sorts of crazy things. I have gone through depression. I'm not suicidal in any way, but I did go through some times where I was pretty down about myself, and every once in a while I still do, because going to jail kind of threw off some of my other plans. I've rebuilt now 3 times, and they continue to find ways to knock me down. They sent the IRS after me for back tax stuff right after I left. They readjusted all my corporate tax stuff. They have tried every way of defaming me and demeaning me possible. They had me watched for a while. There was all sorts of crazy things that I've seen because of my whistleblowing. But even in 2014, I thought I was done. I was attending different trade shows throughout. I was going to E3, PAX Prime, all these cool places, and moving on with my life and trying to become a legitimate journalist and have a legitimate career, build a legitimate following online. And I got my stuff was deleted when I was in jail, and I had my whole website was removed. That was when I originally found out about everything. So now I know that whistleblowing is going to come back to haunt me. Again, it's going to, just like Tupac said, you always got to worry about those enemies from the past coming at you. But I don't regret it. I don't regret anything that I did. I'm happier than I've ever been before. I live a much more fulfilled life. I have more freedom. Aside, it sucked going to jail for 2 months, but there was, 50 months where I wasn't in jail, and those were great months. I got to see a lot of things, got to experience a lot of things, and meet a lot of people that I never would have otherwise. I've since fallen out with some people, like Yorian on News kind of ignores me now. I called them out for embezzling money from some kids. I burned a lot of bridges. Wikipedia, I've been insulted on Wikipedia so that my page can no longer show up there after 2 years where I actually did have a Wikipedia page. Now I would never have one. Even if you wanted to create one, they wouldn't let you, of me. So I'm basically a ghost. I've basically successfully managed to make myself disappear in a way, but still be okay with it, still live, got anonymous, have my back. I've got a lot of whistleblowers that know who I am, but it's a long, hard road, and there's a lot of opposition, there's a lot of obstacles, and there's a lot of people that will do whatever they can to stop you and to keep you down. But you just gotta keep going. You gotta hold on to that belief, and you've gotta push it as far as you possibly can. there are whistleblowers who, they take, we'll call it the easy way out, but the easier path, I guess, of settling with the banks and taking, a couple $1,000,000 off of the thing of hush money. But I chose a different route. I chose not to. I chose to continue pushing, continue fighting, and continue making a bigger stink about it and get my voice louder and louder. So I guess overall I'm basically recording this so that one day I can look back and remember it, because I look back and remember the time, 2011, times in 2012, even when I was in jail, I can look back at those times and remember them fondly and clearly. But once I'm gone, that's it. All of it goes. There's no evidence that any of it ever happened. I would have failed if I died today. I would have failed at my goal of exposing the wrongs and making those people pay and helping the people who, honest, hardworking people who have been thrown into financial situations they didn't deserve for no reason, just for profit. It's still going on. I picked the devil. The money is the devil, and I butted heads with them and have the scars to prove it. If you're thinking about becoming a whistleblower, I would still recommend it, and I'm more than happy to connect you with any resources, any person that you could ever want to help you out, because I understand what it's like. I understand how hard it is. I've worked with WikiLeaks, I worked with Anonymous, I've worked with Occupy, I've worked with all the government regulators, I've gone to jail. I get it. I understand. I know how hard it is to convince people of something they don't want to be convinced of, even when it's the right thing, it's the truth, it's what's best. So I just wanted to make this video to let people know that there are whistleblowers out there, not just Bradley Manning and Edward Snowden. Some of us have managed to survive and stay out of trouble, do things the right way, as Obama says it, and it still doesn't do anything. It still doesn't help. There's still, we're still fighting the fight, but we're out there. And if you ever want to join, you're more than welcome to find me. I would love to meet you. And until then, my name is Brian Penny. I'm a bank whistleblower, and I'm signing off.